I've been on a bit of a zombie kick recently, which started as a result of watching 28 Years Later, which led me to I watched these movies way out of order. 28 Years, then 28 Days, then just finished watching 28 Weeks Later yesterday. As a result of watching those, my interest in zombies has peaked. I also looked at a little bit of gameplay from that new Resident Evil game. So today we're talking about zombies. This is Game, Develop, Repeat. I'm your host, Chris, and thank you as always for joining me. I believe my first real exposure to zombies, or my first memorable exposure to zombies, was from watching my brother play Resident Evil. I remember the overwhelming vibe of the game, the extremely uncomfortable, you have to preserve ammo, something is going to get you, there's danger in every corner, and you better be very aware of the decisions that you are making and how they're going to affect you or might affect you 10, 20, 30 minutes from now. One decision you make now might screw you down the road. That is a cool thing that I think has been abandoned in a lot of the Resident Evil games and then brought back in some places and so on and so on. Now, I would play the game on the easiest possible mode. I was a very young child, and it wasn't really my kind of game anyway. It's like, oh, this is scary. I want to shoot things, so I'm going to go on easy mode. I'm going to go at max ammo. I'm going to go infinite saves. This was the other great thing about this game is you had limited saves. You had to really choose when to save, which gave you just enough, oh God, oh man, have I really made enough progress to justify using one of these tape cassettes? Using something to save right now? Have I really justified it, or am I going to regret this later? And then there were some times where you got a nice item and you're, oh, I have to save as soon as possible. The incredibly limited inventory space. There were all of these factors in those games, in the OG Resident Evil games, that really made it horrifying. Now, other zombies. There are zombies in media that have very different depiction. And I'm tempted to talk about Silent Hill right now because I lumped it together with Resident Evil when I was a kid, but it is kind of a very different thing, and they're not really zombies as far as I can tell. But that's also in my head just a little bit. So other depictions of zombies, right? Resident Evil has very classical zombies. It's got the old shambling zombie. It doesn't even have a crazy horde of zombies for the most part. It's just, oh, here's a zombie. It's shambling. You got to deal with this. Don't get bit. Don't get surrounded. Don't get cornered because it's not going to die easy. But also, usually you can run away unless you run into the dog situation or some other faster zombies. The core zombie is a very classical zombie. Now, I want to pivot to 28 Days Later because of one simple element that is different in 28 Days Later from all other depictions of zombies that I kind of expect. The classical zombie is the character gets bit and then they eventually turn into a zombie. Maybe they hide the bite. Maybe everybody else tries to look for a cure for several days while they're, dealing with the symptoms slowly building up and people put them in isolation and whatever else. And then eventually the zombie turns, or the human turns into a zombie, and then you have to kill them, and it's a whole dramatic thing. It gives you a lot of time to remain attached and get invested and try to cure them and whatever. Also, The Walking Dead kind of works that way. There's a little twist to it, but The Walking Dead basically works that way. 28 Days Later does a very small change that makes a very big impact on the dynamic. It goes, hey, you get bit by a zombie, you're going to turn fast. You get bit by a zombie, you're within 10 seconds, you're biting people, you're vomiting blood, and the blood will turn other people into zombies immediately, and this thing is going to spread, buddy. And I really like that twist because it creates these moments of, oh God, oh no, everybody is going to get infected very, very quickly. So it shortcuts the whole interpersonal drama and condenses it. There's still the interpersonal drama, but instead of having this stretched out long thing where you're like, oh my God, like, come on, just go ahead and shoot them. You've had enough time to stop feeling emotional about it and to go into kind of like a logical, shielded state. I think most people would probably just shoot this person by now, and the person would have a rational discussion with you and go ahead and shoot me, and you go, okay, fine. Instead of having that whole thing, you have about 10 seconds of them going, oh God, and they're either going, please don't, or quick, get away from me. And then that's that. That is a cool, condensed emotional experience. And I really like that somebody can do just that little change to the whole zombie dynamic and take it from something that kind of makes me go, this is boring and dull and I'm tired of it, to, oh man, this is sick. This is really cool. It also explains the failure in navigating the outbreak. Right? So in a lot of zombie things, you kind of go, well, they move real slow, and we've got guns and military, so I feel like it doesn't make sense that it overtook everybody and everything. But the formula where it's almost instantaneous, you go, okay, I kind of see how that happened. And other things, other media generally have their own explanation for how it manages to overtake everything, right? The Last of Us has a cool angle on zombies too. I'm not going to go through every detail of every angle on zombies, but what I do want to mention is that in terms of gameplay, this is what interests me. There have been many classical zombie experiences. I have not seen a game that does the 28 days later thing as a gameplay element. And there's a single scene from 28 weeks later that makes me think of this, which is essentially people are trying to stop the thing from spreading as it is actively spreading. And they're trying to take people out as they turn into zombies, but then that makes more people turn into zombies because there's blood spraying everywhere and so on and so on. Are there games, there probably are there games that are about you trying to stop the spread as it spreads very rapidly, or just have scenes that are like, quick, take people out, fight against this insane, overwhelming force that you really don't have a hope of taking out? And maybe you can stop and contain this incredibly fast-moving, virulent plague. But probably not. Because that tension is a whole different angle. Most zombie games are survival horror. Well, I say that. There's also horde shooters, right? There's also just like a kind of a tower defense style thing. But if there is a game like this, I'd like to hear about it, and I'd like to give it a shot. I have not looked into it. I'm kind of just flying by the seat of my pants and hoping that one of you right now is sitting there going, ooh, he's got to try this, because there's a scene in here early on, preferably not 20 hours into the game, but there's a thing in this game that he would really like. So that interests me. Also, just as a game mechanic, the idea of preventing the spread of something that is extremely difficult to stop the spread of. There is what is the name of that Plague game? Plague Inc.? It was a Flash game for a while where it was just try to stop this virus from spreading everywhere, and it became very popular and relevant again for a little bit during COVID. I think it might have been Plague Inc. or something very much like it. Those sorts of games, that intrigues me. I'm not that familiar with the stop this contagion from getting everywhere genre where the contagion is actually part of the gameplay, not just part of the story. Maybe it's incredibly difficult to implement it because maybe it's just you have to stop it early on or else you are screwed. So it might take a pretty creative mind to make a good version of that game. Speaking of making good versions of games, let's talk about some development. Let me start by asking you something. How's your development going? How's your creative stuff going? We're entering a shift in the seasons. Those are always, I think, rough for me, and I always underestimate how rough that is. I'm going from winter season into spring. We're going to get some allergy stuff going on. There might be some illness. And these are the times when squeezing a little bit of creativity into your day can get a little extra difficult. Maybe you're not feeling physically well, and maybe you just need a little rest, or maybe it's just, maybe it's inspiring. Maybe it's something that you look at and you go, oh my God, fresh start, sort of, right? Something clean, something wonderful. The seasons change and I change with them, kind of a vibe. Coming out of winter can be quite nice. Winter is sort of a deep, dark season. I mean, this depends on where you are in the world, right? But it can also be a really helpful time for creativity because you kind of get stowed away. You don't have all these other exciting things to do. You can sort of be a bear in a cave, playing with ideas instead of sleeping or just sleeping. Varies from person to person. But anyway, I got caught up in the season part of this. But how's your creativity going? I am going to answer now because you're not here. I mean, not here with me physically, so you can't respond to this in the recording. But for me, it's going a little bit rough, to be honest. I've been doing a little bit of piano practice, which is nice, and doing it by ear. I'm trying to learn a couple game songs by ear because I like music and I like doing things by ear, even though I haven't gotten that much experience with it. So I want to work on that just a little bit. So I've been playing around with that and trying to get into a groove with that. It hasn't really clicked yet. And generally I'm feeling like my creative spirit is a little dampened right now. I'm not having a lot of momentum. I'm going through a creative rough patch. And that can be hard. And it happens sometimes. And I'm just trying to remind myself that that's a part of the process. And it's okay to get creatively stuck and so on, as long as you don't extend it. As long as you're not, I don't know, really, really wallowing in it and so on and so on. But I'm trying to just let it be what it is and then move forward from there. Is that easy for me? Nope. No, not at all. I'm a little too attached to my creativity at times. So, yeah, there's my little overshare, my little creative rough patch conversation. There are a few things that I could work on, and part of the reason why I'm so consistent with this podcast is because when I hit one of these creative rough patches, the podcast is a reminder to me that this is important. That one way or another, I want to keep doing a little bit of creative stuff. I want to keep moving on the game dev somehow, some way, even if it's just building up these ideas in the back of my head that one day will just come flowing forth. And maybe that's cope. It might be. But it might not be. And it's a lot better than nothing. So this week is I'm going to make the podcast. I'm going to talk about some fun ideas. And I'm going to hope that somebody out there listens to it and goes, I relate to this. And you know what? Now I do want to do something this week. Or maybe I can take on that project that I've been wanting to take on, or even just experiment with it. I'm getting excited just talking about it this way. I'm getting to where I go, maybe it's time to go back into the code on this little walking simulator, talk to people 2D pixel thing that I wanted to do just as a little portfolio kind of thing, not professional portfolio, but personal portfolio, and go, oh, let's add fishing to this, and which was always the intent, and add people wanting specific fish and throw some personality in there and do some writing. Like maybe I just need a little excitement in that. And I also have a thought that I feel like I'm very defensive about. I'm going deep today. We're going deep on this episode because I have to. I'm very defensive about this thought, and I wonder if you might react negatively to it too, or if you've had the same thought and been defensive about it. I wonder if I should just not play video games at all for a long period of time. I wonder if that would help me engage with the things that I really love about video games. I wonder if I'm just so saturated on games and ideas and if playing games is just making me feel a little bit jaded. And if playing games is doing, there's all this talk about dopamine and whatnot. If it's having the effect of like looking at my phone, making me not feel like doing things, right? Like this effect of like emotionally draining me. I'm not going to equate it to something like a TikTok or a Reddit. But I do wonder if it's taking the energy that would be taken by creating games. So that's a thought that I've been having, and I don't know where to go with that. Now, let's talk practically about development, because that was a bit of a downer. Zombie games and development, man. I wonder, does the slow and steady developer have a zombie-like nature of being harder to kill? Is there a developer that's just like Nemesis from Resident Evil? Is that 3? Nemesis, just this huge, powerful monster of a game developer that cannot be stopped and is just slowly trudging towards the goal. You're the zombie hunting down the idea. Forget being, is it Leon? What game did Leon appear in? Forget being one of these STARS members who is going through and hunting the zombies and all this. Maybe you're the zombies as a developer. Maybe you're the problem. Maybe you're the unstoppable infection. Your creative spirit will not be shut down. Your urge to develop is a relentless zombie virus-like thing that just keeps trucking no matter what happens to it. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know why I'm flipping the script on this. It makes the creativity feel negative somehow, which I don't think it is. But the resilience of a zombie. And which version would it be? Would it be, there's a film that I can't remember the name of, and I looked it up and I still couldn't find it, about like these zombies in like Alaska, where people are stuck in like a dark, they're stuck in the dark for like several days or weeks or something. And I was confusing it with 28 Days Later initially, because I thought it was like, they get stuck on day 1 and then they have to survive 28 days. I do not remember the name of this film, but there's fast zombies in this one, or like fast monster things that try to get you, and they appear during a time when the sun is down for like a month straight. Does anyone know the name of that freaking movie? But maybe you're a fast moving zombie that just goes in a spurt of creativity for 1 month straight and then goes into hibernation for 11 more months or for however many years, and then boom, here we go again. Time to get rolling with it. There are different kinds of zombies. There are different kinds of creative spirit. You hear about novelists who slow and steady work on something for years, and then you hear about novelists who just like think in the back of their head and just process and just hibernate and do whatever, and so on and so on and so on. And then suddenly it's ready and they just write it down. They're just like, okay, there's the book. And they just write it down in the course of like 2-3 months, and it is finished. And then they go, okay, back to recovering, and then prepping the next idea, and so on, right? And then there's a guy who writes 1,000 words a day, or 100 words a day, or what have you. There's this urge to look online and go, what's the formula for success? And then try to do exactly what somebody else did. But maybe you're a different kind of zombie, and maybe it's a different kind of environment for you. Do you like how I did this zombie thing? Because I'm very happy about it. You know what? Let's wrap this thing up and get things rolling for the week. Here's my question for you this week. What is your favorite implementation of zombies? This could be in a game, it could be in a movie, a series, whatever. But which version of zombies do you go, yeah, that's a good one? Is it The Walking Dead because of the focus on social dynamics? Is it 28 Days Later? I think that's my choice. Resident Evil with all the weird evil science stuff going on. There's a lot of different angles to this. And I'm curious about yours. Hit me up in the Discord. Throw it into either the episode discussion or the what do I call it? Development check-ins channel. We'll chat about it there. But that is everything that I have for you this week. Thank you for joining me as always. Hopefully next week I'll feel a little bit less like a zombie. And hopefully this week goes well for you. I hope you enjoy it. Until next time, get out there, make some stuff, and as always, have fun with it. Bye-bye.